All right, how we doing, fellow psychonauts? My name is Troy. I'm the owner of Sonoran Sports. I kind of want to make this video place or this channel on YouTube as well as a place where we could all talk together and we could bounce ideas off of each other. I'm not always going to be right or wrong on something like that, so I want to encourage discourse in the comments and kind of just in this community where we could start discussing some next places to go. I wanted to start this off by introducing myself, my background, and kind of why I decided to make this. First of all, we live in Arizona and it is hotter than blazes outside. It is probably like 115 right now. So this is kind of a good thing for me to do, that I can stay inside and just nice and in the AC where my body doesn't want to be sweating and dying slowly. And I wanted to talk about some things. I got a kind of type up right here of the story of how I started the business of Sonoran Sports, how I went from a broke college kid that was very depressed and struggling with a lot of things mentally to having a couple of very impactful psychedelic experiences that pulled me out of a lot of what I was going through and what I was in and got me into a much brighter, safer, nicer place. And how I impacted and changed my life around to where I am now, as I am just 26, so I'm not a very old person, but I do feel like a completely different person than when I started all of this. So when I was just, I want to say 16, I was somebody with ADHD, getting into trouble constantly at school. I had a lot of issues behavioral-wise and a lot of promise. I had a lot of teachers that would always tell my parents that I was a very bright kid. I could do X, Y, and Z if I just applied and I didn't disrupt the class. You know, everybody's heard this. But I had started my first, as a 16-year-old would, my first experiment, and I took a couple grams of mushrooms at school. Now, when I took this, it impacted me very differently than it would impact everybody else that I've seen. And it impacted me in the ways of, I actually was able to shut up. I was able to sit there and focus, and I was able to think and fully fledge ideas out before they would just hit my mouth and I would just go berserk basically, right? So I remember I was at lunch and I did this at school and I had just a couple grams. This is my first psychedelic experience. And my friend sat down on the other side of the table and he was blown away. He was like, oh my God, I've never seen you actually sit down and stay still and focused for so long and basically be doing so well. He also said, I've never seen another person tripping and stay this focused and this calm and all of that kind of stuff. So a lot of my friends were just kind of trying to figure out why it would react so differently with me. We started to realize later that everybody's different, and I've met other people where it's reacted like that, and I've met people that just go off the wall. So everybody's just kind of different with that. But because I had this, I would experiment with a decent amount of psychedelics just growing up. As I went to college, I'm going there to learn how to get a business and run a business. Ever since I was 5 years old, all I ever wanted to do was run a business. And it was always just what my passion was, right? So when I was 5, I wanted to open a pet store, open a toy store, open an ice cream store, that kind of stuff. And then as I grow older, you watch Toys R Us and stuff go out of business and you just start to realize that the business is a lot more cutthroat than you thought it would be as a kid. So I'm just looking for basically my next passion project that I could feasibly turn into my career. I was working to pay rent basically, so I didn't really have much income coming in from anywhere else, like parents or anything like that. So I would work at Denny's and I'll bus tables, and then I would use that to pay for my rent. Now, I had school paid for, so I didn't have to take out loans or anything like that, which I'm grateful for. But I was working a lot to stay in school, basically. I started getting migraines, really bad migraines. I'd have to go lay down. I couldn't look into any light. Sounds would just get to be too much. And from these migraines, it would really start to impact how much I could work. So I couldn't really, I'd get one every day, and it would take at least 3 hours of my day out. And my day had to be straight work and school, and then maybe a couple hours for waking up and going to sleep type thing. So I didn't have these couple hours every single day to be sacrificing to these migraines. I didn't really know what to do about it. I would just take aspirin every day, and the aspirin would make them go away. It wouldn't like solve the issue. I would get one the very next day. So I was definitely starting to get worried about taking so much aspirin just daily. One day I was taking some mushrooms and somebody sold me some fake mushrooms. So I took in 5 grams because I thought that that'd be a very intense, very good experience, and nothing happened like at all. And it was about a week or two after I'd taken some mushrooms, so I thought, maybe my tolerance is just getting to be too much or something like that. So maybe I'm just not blasting off like I should. And I was kind of placeboing myself, maybe like, oh, I'm feeling it a little bit, but I don't think I was really feeling anything because it was 5 grams. You would be like, shoot, really feeling it. So I go to a different guy and I picked up 7 grams to do myself. And so I went from an eighth 3.5 to 7 grams within a month, and it absolutely shattered my world. Everything flipped upside down. I had ego death. I was with my, at the time now, my fiance. I was with her and she had also taken a large amount, and we were both just kind of going through this huge roller coaster that's a whole nother video. But when I had come back from it, my headaches were gone. And I'd never even thought that that was possible. I didn't even realize that it happened till like 3 days after. And I was like, I haven't had a headache at all for these 3 days after this trip. And it was gone for about a month. And I had realized that basically these could really help somebody if they didn't want to take aspirin every single day and they had like a weekend off to the side once a month type thing. So I was like, all right, that's kind of good to know. At the time, I'm a stoner, so I kind of am watching the legalization of weed take place. So I'm starting to realize like, oh, there's some serious promise here to help individuals within this space as well. And I really happen to like and thrive in this space, basically. So I had went on to r/Sport Traders. And while going through r/Sport Traders, I learned on there how to acquire spores and what the genetics are. And I started watching Willie Myco's videos, and I started learning about strains and all the intricacies of mycology. And I basically took a whole semester off of school, and I just pursued passion projects. I basically realized that school wasn't going too hot with a lot of classes I didn't really want to learn. I wanted to learn a lot of business stuff, science stuff, that's fine, but I didn't want to learn anthropology and all that kind of stuff. I understand why they make you do it, but for me, if I'm not invested in it, I really don't care. So these things I cared about and I did want to learn, and I took that as far as I could until college was making me take other classes. And then I dropped out of college for a semester so that I could focus on passion projects. My 2 passion projects were comedy and mushrooms. And I would basically just learn about mushrooms. I would take notes. I would watch as much things about mushrooms as I could. Didn't matter if it was psychedelic, gourmet, anything about any mushroom, how it grew, how somebody could make it grow, anything like that. I was learning and I was full throttled onto. I found out about the cactus, which is San Pedro cactus, and that all these shamans love this cactus and that they worship it. So I'm like, oh, that's a pretty cool thing too. So I started studying that tribe and all that kind of stuff and getting my own cactus just to kind of keep sacred and keep safe under my roof. So I'm taking care of this cool shamanic plant, right? Obviously, I don't say that anybody out there should use any psychedelics or do anything like that, because everybody's different and these all impact everybody in a different wide range of things. I'm just telling my story and my truth. So I was just taking notes, and then when I wasn't taking notes on this, I was writing comedy. I had basically taken all fun out of my life. There wasn't partying, I wasn't watching TV, I wasn't playing video games, which I used to love doing. I had blocked out almost all my friends, which was easy because they all lived in Phoenix and I went up to Flagstaff for college. So I was just focused on mushrooms and comedy. The mushrooms just happened to be the thing that took off first for me. And what I was doing was I was slowly just getting a couple of strains of mushrooms, and I would get a bunch of prints together, and then I would go into r/Sport Traders on Reddit, which unfortunately has closed down since then. This was 2018. And I'd make a post that was like, hey, I think at the time Chicago just decriminalized magic mushrooms. So I said, hey, let's all celebrate by trading some genetics for microscopy purposes only. And I posted, I said, I have like 20 golden teacher prints. Let me know what you want to trade with. At the time, nobody was really trading on Spore Traders. I always thought that was weird. It was a bunch of verified vendors that would sell on there. Nobody was really trading. I was one of the only people that got a trade post to blow up, and everybody traded with me. So from that post of Chicago decriminalizing magic mushrooms or whatever, I had gotten like 20 strains from my one strain that I just got a bunch of prints of. And then from those 20 strains, I started getting a bunch of prints of all of those strains. And then I think Oakland decriminalized mushrooms. So I did another one. And then I had, before I knew it, 40 strains that I wasn't buying or anything. I was just trading with people so that I could get my own genetics for free, basically. As I'm doing this, I'd actually built up a reputation within the community for having some of the cleanest spores around, which I thought was kind of surprising because I didn't have much of a setup for it. I didn't have a flow hood or anything like that. I was just doing everything in my bathroom, and I'd Lysol it till like everything would die, and then I'll wear a mask and do my thing in my bathroom, which is not recommended for mycology, but you can make things work if you're determined. So I was determined, but people started saying, dang, mine were some of the cleanest prints that they ever had. And I mean vendors, not even just like random people, other vendors started specifically trying to trade with me so that they could sell my spores to other people. So, okay, that's pretty cool. I got a good method down. I took a bunch of my spores, and then once I had gotten all of these strains and all these vendors wanted to come in and procure some of my prints, I'd realized, hey, I could probably start selling these to the public, and I could start becoming one of these trusted vendors. At the time, I didn't have a brand, and I'm coming off of business school, and I went to college so that I could try to be a businessman. So I go, all right, let's make a brand before we really go into it. My fiance at the time, or at right now, she was my girlfriend at the time, actually drew up the logo for Sonoran Spores. We've been very proud of it ever since. We had a great name. You know, I did all of this stuff to try to brand it properly before I let my mycology speak for itself, basically. All of this happened, and the mycology starts taking off. Everybody starts on the normal side, like not just vendors, everybody just starts realizing that we're a trusted vendor and that I wasn't gonna scam anybody or anything like that. I was gonna get you the products that you paid for, or I'll refund you if I did it. So by the time that this account's taking off, I'm living in a 2-bedroom apartment and the lease is ending. And we had a roommate, which was kind of helping, but I'm starting to make some sales, but I'm not like making anything crazy. I'm making probably like a couple $100 every other week or something like that, which is huge for a college kid, don't get me wrong. But we had to, me and McKenna had to move into a 1-bedroom apartment and lose the roommate basically with our next apartment. So because of that, we cut down a lot of the space that we were living in whilst trying to start this business. Keep in mind, at this point, I think just gone back to school, and I'm working a job at a hotel now, not at Denny's, and I'm working as a server instead of a busboy. So I've worked myself up. I'm getting more opportunities and stuff like that, but I'm just not really cutting it, I would say, as far as my earning potential and all of what I'm investing into everything. We move into there, and I'm like, let's really try to start and get this business going, and let's try to make ourselves a really good trusted vendor, like the best trusted vendor on all of Reddit. So I tell my friend, and my friend is going to school to be a chemist, basically, and I tell him, hey dude, there's this thing called laminar flow hood, and I need that if I'm gonna step my lab game up. I sent him a video that Willie Myko had made that was basically how to build the laminar flow hood. He gifts me a laminar flow hood for my birthday, probably one of the best gifts that I've ever received, honestly. We get the flow hood and everything starts going very well. We're taking off, and we're basically having to walk the packages to the post office every single day. and I mean walked them. Like, I don't have a car, and I finally got a bike, and the bike had a little basket in the front, so I'd like put on a backpack with like all the packages and have a basket filled with all the packages, and then slowly ride through the snow of Flagstaff and deliver it to the post office. We're also living in the 1-bedroom apartment, and every single day, I shit you not, I still remember to this day, we would pressure cook the water, and I'd get about an order for 10 to 15 syringes. I'll make 10 to 15 syringes for the day. I would take my whole bed out of my room. I would take everything out of the 1-bedroom apartment, and I'd move my flow hood into the room. Now, after I move the flow hood in, I clean everything, sanitize everything, and I'll do my lab work for the day, make like 10 to 15 syringes, stop the lab work, and then I would come and move everything back. I would put my whole bed, everything would go back into my room, and every single day I would just move everything and just I would operate this business out of no car, no bike, a 1-bedroom apartment where I'm moving everything every single day. And this is starting to take its toll because I'm going to college and I'm working a job basically. On top of that, McKenna is doing the same thing. She's helping me, and she's working a job, and she's going to college, but she's on the dean's list and is like actually good at college. I'm like studying what I want to study and stuff. She's going like getting her degree. So once we got the flow hood and things actually started to take off and I was making decent enough money, she was the first one to actually get to quit her job, which was amazing. We finally, like, I remember reaching this awesome point where we were almost celebrating, but we were still broke. So we're not really celebrating. We like probably lit up a blunt or something like that. Something that was celebratory, but didn't cost too much basically. And she got to quit her job that I'd got her at Denny's for being a server and just focus on school and the business. And I was still juggling all three. It wasn't until, I want to say, a month after that, I was able to quit my job. And then we just got to focus on the business. She finished school like a year after that. And ever since then, for like the last 6 years, we've just been focused on the business, helping get everybody that needs quality genetics of any mushroom. We're helping them get that basically. And I couldn't be prouder of where we are. I couldn't be prouder of where we came from, how basically I had started this whole business with just $100, and that was a lot because I only had like $1,000 set aside in case any catastrophes happen. Like if I had like a heart attack or something crazy, I at least had something. But I had spent a tenth of it just on all this mushroom stuff, like a pressure cooker and a still air box. And then I had to just constantly having faith in myself, dedicating all this time and everything, understanding that this can heal people and knowing firsthand what this is like. It gave me this fire, this drive that I'm eternally grateful for, and has propelled me to a very amazing place in life. And I do hope that a lot of people that are maybe depressed or they're struggling to figure out a path, maybe you don't need psychedelics or something, but I would say just keep looking. I promise you, just look to change anything up. Like I think that a big part of what the psychedelics did for me was help me gain a new perspective on things, kind of just shifted my worldview. You don't need that though to shift your worldview. Just keep shifting things up. Try new things, go outside your comfort box. I promise you depression will get better. I promise you it's something that time will heal. It could be something that's slow, or it could be the very next day type of thing. You just want to keep going on out there and giving it your all and trying to look for anything to help pull you out. Literally just look for anything, change anything, and have an open mind the best that you can. Don't give up on anything like that. Don't give up on your dreams. Pursue your dreams and have faith in yourself no matter what. I love you all, everybody. Thank you for watching. We made this video because I've been getting asked all sorts of questions. Every time I meet some of you in person, I always get asked a bunch of questions. So I feel like there's a lot of you that I wanted to share this story with and kind of maybe hope that you could connect with it somehow and understand where I'm going to be coming from with the next course of these videos, as I'm just going to be kind of talking about psychedelic stories that I had in these college days, some of the struggles and stuff that we had gone through, and then a lot of the cool fun times that I've had with friends as well, and just everything in between. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you guys have a blessed day. Take care.